Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the next episode of the Gospel of Cleezy. I am your boy D Freezy, aka Cleezy for Sheezy, and this is the podcast, the Gospel of Cleezy. Um, Happy Labor Day weekend. I did not get a chance to line up a guest for this week's episode, but I hope that I will give you something that's worth your time if you're joining us tonight. If you are, thank you for joining in. Don't see anybody in the chat yet. Also, I want to put my ticker up so you guys can call in. If you got something on your mind you want to talk about, you think I might be able to shed some light on it, please give me a call. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. As I said before, one of my followers told me I sound so country, so I am a country boy, but I would try to remind myself that I am uh, in a semi-business setting. So I'll try to dial back my Southeast North Carolina accent just a touch if I can. Welcome all feedback. I thank the person who told me for even watching. But I'm country, country with a K. Pe- Peace, peace, brother Paul Scott in the room. Peace, brother. Yeah. So I think I've said before that I also am the chairman of a political action committee called the Black Liberation Action Committee of Durham. I have also been graciously offered and honored to accept a position in the militant mind militia as the prime minister of politics. So you'll see stuff coming from the squad, that group, and stuff coming from Black as well. So being that it's Labor Day, I thought that it would be timely to think about um, labor and the labor of Nubians in particular, and to go a step further, the uncompensated labor of Nubians and um, property that may have been lost due to uh, domestic terrorism, white supremacy, things of that nature. I think I talked about on one of my earlier episodes this book. It's called Blood at the Root by Patrick Phillips. It's about basically a ethnic cleansing of Forsyth County, Georgia. And if that sounds familiar to you, Forsyth County, Georgia is the district that uh, Congressperson Marjorie Taylor Greene is from. Um, if I thought about it, I would have pulled up a clip. So just go to YouTube and type in celebration Forsyth County, Georgia. I think it was 1987. Um, they so long story short, what happened was around the turn of the 20th century, there was a black population in Forsyth County, Georgia. Somewhere I want to say it was around 1913 ish. There was a assault of two Caucasian women, and their assailants were said to be African Americans, Nubians, black people, and as such, the white people of the county got into such a fervor that they rounded up 5 or 6 people that they thought was involved with the assault. Um, and before doing that, they had I guess, a war party at the town square. I think Conyers, is it Conyers or Cummins? I get those confused. Anyway, it might be Cummings, Georgia. Is the county seat, I believe, or something like that. Anyway, fact check me on that, and you know, put it in the chat if you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're on 85 and you're coming from Durham, you're going to go through Forsyth County before you get to Atlanta. I do know that much. Lake Lanier is the county. Is in Forsyth County. Blacktown, Oscarville is underneath Lake Lanier. They built the dam and flooded it, and that was a part of this whole thing. And no black people were lived in that county for almost a century. Um, and they tried to have a celebration in the '80s, and the townspeople of, I want to say Cummins. Yeah, yes, yeah. I know I won't be able to find it now. Anyway, they were not pleased with the celebration. They didn't want no you know uh dark melanated people celebrating anything in their county. And it's on YouTube. So look it up and just see the reaction of the people of the town of Cummings. I want to say Cummings. I get Cummings and Conyers mixed up. I'm not from Georgia. Georgia people, pardon me. But anyway, back to my point. So the people that own land in that county, the black people, that they just left it because people would come around, you know, parties at night would come around and tell them, if you're here in the morning, you'll be dead. So that happened there, and that happened in Rosewood, Florida. That happened um, in Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898. Wilmington on Fire. See it if you haven't seen it. It's on Quelle TV. That happened in Spartanburg, South Carolina. That happened in Memphis, Tennessee. That happened to black people all over the country. And this was well after slavery. So the uncompensated labor from slavery, then the loss of land and property after slavery for well into the 20th century. The Great Migration, it lasted a good while, where black people were just getting the hell out of the South and going north, where they faced housing discrimination and redlining and things of that nature. So, um, in honor of Labor Day, let's think about uh, the labor that our people have not been compensated in. And Brother Paul said, has the News and Observer ever apologized for the Wilmington massacre? Not to my knowledge, no. And they ran several ads that whipped up the ire of the racist Democratic Party at that time, and the people that were, they did a lot. They did basically what they're doing now. They tried to scare you, right? But I don't. But no, I don't think. Brother Paul said Josephus Daniels. I don't know if I don't know who Josephus Daniels is. Um, but I got a computer right here. Uh, let's see. Former United States Secretary of the Navy. Oh, how did I get there? Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that they did. I know that the Democratic Party um, only recently, when I say recently, it was in probably the late '90s. Oh, Josephus Daniels was an American diplomat, newspaper editor from the 1880s until his death, who managed the News and Observer in Raleigh. Okay, thank you, thank you. Um, Yeah, they definitely are coming out. Peace, Jake. They definitely are coming out with a Wilmington on Fire too. It is. Uh, I had Chris on the show 2 weeks ago, a week ago. I can't keep up with the time anymore since COVID. Um, but yeah, he's working on his movie about Grandmaster Vic Moore. Grandmaster is coming out first, I believe, and then Wilmington on Fire 2 will be out. And I will keep you posted as soon as I know. You will know. So great question. Thank you for that. Yeah. So yeah. So Josephus Daniels was the manager of the News and Observer. He was appointed by Woodrow Wilson, one of the most racist presidents we ever had in our life. He screened "Birth of a Nation," which was the first major motion picture in this country, in the White House, based off a book called The Klansman. And it portrayed, if you don't know what "Birth of a Nation" is, peace be to I was going to say peace be to Nat Turner. peace be to Nate Parker for coming out with a new birth of the nation, which I like much better. Peace to him. Yeah, okay, he was the Secretary of the Navy. So yeah. Yeah, but everywhere black people were, and after slavery during Reconstruction, were able to acquire land. A lot of that land was somehow lost. We lost something like 20 million acres between 1877 and probably like 19. I'm guessing 1920, 1930, somewhere along in there, probably somewhere along with the Great Depression time. But when black people were getting him, but so somebody, the thing about money is money doesn't evaporate; it just changes hands, right? So some of the people that were involved in that stuff then had children and offspring, and they passed that wealth on to those people. And the saying goes, well, why should I pay for slavery? I didn't own any slaves. Yeah, but if you inherited some of that wealth that came from slavery, then you benefiting from it now. And as Dr. Jerome Fox says in his book, even though a lot of white people say that, and no disrespect to anybody, the fact still remains that they benefit from it in some way. They benefit from white supremacy in some way, even if they don't actively participate. There's still a benefit, and for them to take whether they choose to or not. So let's think about that for Labor Day. And I'm open to all ideas about, you know, I love to hear anybody's comments on reparations and how they feel about them. And if you're against them, I would love to hear those too. I don't know how a black person could be, but that's you were well within your right to do so. So that's the first thing. I'm gonna do something different this week. Heard a brother on the Carl Nelson show. He is a math teacher and he wants to help children. He's a brother. He wants to help children that have math anxiety or have problems with math. So he has a website called All This Math. He has a YouTube channel. He said he had over like 750 videos on there. So I know for me, having somebody that looks like me that can do something that I'm having trouble with helps me a great deal. I think it helps children to see people who look like them um, that can do things that they need to learn how to do. We I say all that to say we need more black teachers. And shout out to the black teachers we have. I know that the job is not easy, but uh, I salute you. Some of my favorite people are teachers because, like I say, every president, doctor, surgeon, brilliant, what scientist, they had a teacher. Somebody had to teach them. Now they, may have had aptitude to do things, outside of what's considered normal, but they had to be taught. So shout out to the teachers. Um, yeah. So Labor Day, all this math. So it's called All This Math. He's on Instagram. He's on YouTube. I think he might be on Facebook, and his website is allthismath.com. So if your little ones are having trouble, and it's all levels of math, all the way up to I think he said calculus. So if your little one is having trouble, give his brother a chance. And he said from what he said, he is receptive to feedback. So if there's something you need, reach out to them, and they do private tutoring, but that's gonna cost a little money. All this stuff I'm talking about is free because I'm PO without the OR. So try to keep it economical for everybody. Hey, Sister Melanie in here. Thank you for joining us. Hey, how you doing tonight? So this week, uh, I guess VP Harris had her first interview. I tried to find it. I saw one with her and Walls. Um, I, you know, I watched it, but I didn't. It wasn't a lot there. It was more like a meet and greet to me. It wasn't a whole lot of substance. If that's the one everybody's talking about, but I'm really not focused on what she says. I'm focused on what she doesn't say. She doesn't say, um, ludicrous things that make no sense and everybody knows are lies. I mean, you could you could debate the point: do all politicians lie? I guess to a degree, they don't they I wouldn't say they lie. I would say it's very difficult to get them to answer a yes or no. That's what I would say. Because if you watch them and you see people ask them a question, they'll do everything but answer it. So it was a lot of that, but it was no crazy bloodbaths and um, you know, just ridiculousness. So the bar's been set really low for me. So, you know, beyond, her getting caught with a live girl or a dead boy or whatever, however the saying goes, I'm gonna roll with it. I don't know that we have much choice. So yeah, I saw that, and I guess the other guy, he pissed the army off. That's real good for the wannabe commander in chief, former commander in chief, to piss the army off because doing wild stuff on at the cemetery. You got you doing that bad. You got to try to get a photo up at the cemetery. I'll be damned. Let them people rest in peace. Um, Pardon my language, but so yeah, that is that. Yeah. So Kamala Harris reparations. Yep. Trying to keep up. I'm running behind. So tonight, since I do not have a guest, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna do something that I'm gonna call affectionately and ironically, right? Cleezy's classroom. I love history, and I think I said that probably on the first episode, and I'll say it. You'll hear me say it a lot. I spend a lot of time with history, and on social media, I see a lot of people say things that you know I don't know where it comes from. Um, and sometimes it tells me that they may need to check their sources. Shout out to Brother Paul Scott. One of the things he taught me very early in our relationship was it's about sources. People, you know, and this day and age with this social media and YouTube generation, I don't know what sources a lot of people are using. So I um I wish I was a good AV person because I would hook up a cute little presentation and all that, but I didn't have time or you know to learn how to do it, and I didn't have time to do it anyway. So I came to my trusty little whiteboard. Show you my whiteboard. Oops. Yeah, so I got my little whiteboard, right? You can't. Oh, it's reversed. But anyway, you don't really need to see it. But what you need to understand is this. Hold on. Okay. So we're gonna start at the beginning. Let us begin at the beginning, right? So the Earth, as far as we know, is 4.5 billion years old. Okay, billion with a B. You can't imagine how much time it is. I can't imagine how much time it is. So that's when, as far as we know now, time began, right? So the oldest human remains were found at a place called what it's called now, um, the cradle of humankind. And can anyone guess where that place is? Listen, I sound like a teacher. I'm tripping myself out. I'm gonna try to share my screen. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Can you see this? Yeah, you can see that. So the cradle of humankind is here. That's Johannesburg, South Africa. So it's west and north of Johannesburg and west and south of Pretoria. West. Yes, that's right. Okay. So these human remain well, these weren't human. These weren't Homo sapiens. These were Homo naledi. So a precursor to the Homo sapien, I guess. And with carbon dating, they can't be sure. They can't get it exact. These remains were between 336,000 and 300 and no, hold on. What is that? No, hang on, I got it right here. between 335,000 and 236 years old. So this is the first human. That's how that are the humans. I mean, I don't know if it was just one. We can't, we don't know. Anyway, I'm sure it wasn't just one because how can one turn into so many, right? Anyway, so that's a long time ago. So from 4.5 billion to 336,000. This is time, and you can't see it. This is time. This is the unknown known time. Unknown unknown. We won't ever know what we don't know about the time between. Uh, well, we don't know now. I say it's an unknown, and we don't know what we don't know. So I don't. That's a long time though. That's from 4 billion to, you know 336,000. That's a lot. That's eons, I would say, right? I'll forget what the definition of an eon is, but that's not my area. Anyway, so the next thing you need to understand, and this is no speculation. This is all pretty much. That's right, Jake. The motherland. Um, so right, the oldest people were found in what is now known as South Africa, right? And the generally accepted theory, as far as I know, unless somebody can tell me wrong, is mankind started there and migrated out everywhere else, right? That's what's called the out of Africa theory, right? Okay, so this is not. I mean, you can debate it, but I think this is generally accepted by most scientific people, and historical people. The two things I've stated so far. So the next thing you need to know is there were three ice ages, but the one we need to focus on is the worm ice age. It's WURM. Worm. It's a German word, so it's got the funny little dots on top of the U. So just type in worm ice age. Now that was from 115,000 years ago to 11,700 years ago. There was ice age, and it was basically what is known as Europe was frozen, right? Okay, 11,000 years ago, 11,700 years ago, that ends. Now we know that. Let me see what I got next. What am I saying? The Medunetter, which is um, a book or a writing of symbols, um, is somewhere around 10,000 years old. Okay, so 11,700 years ago, the worm ice age ends. 10,000 years ago, the Medunetter, and I think if I remember Dr. Ben, lecture from Dr. Ben or Dr. Clark, I can't remember who it was already in its second or third revision when the one that was discovered. But 10,000 years. So that's the first writing. And when you talk about history, history means written, right? So anything before we know of anybody writing is prehistoric, right? So 10,000 years ago, and the Medunetta also originates from where? Egypt, right? And I have another book. There's two books that you should read to understand the history of Africa before the European. This is one of them, The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. Um, it will explain so much. If you haven't read it, you should definitely read it. It will give you a great foundation. The other book I don't have because I gave it to somebody, and I don't like giving my books away. I'll just be honest. But it was somebody. It was a close family friend that I love, and he wanted it. I gave it to him, and I asked him, "Did he read it?" He said, "Not yet." And I said, "Give him my book back." So, anyway, excuse me. The other book is African Origins of Western Civilization by Sheikh Anta Diop. Don't know if you've heard of him, Sheikh Anta Diop. If you haven't heard of him, There's probably a reason for that, but Sheikh Anta Diop is probably one of the most brilliant men, especially in the area of anthropology and science, that has ever walked the planet Earth. He was a Senegalese. He was from Senegal. He was and there was a conference headed by UNESCO, which I don't know if you know who UNESCO is, but it's a UN historical society, um, where he went in with Theophile Obenga and proved that the African was first, and African civilization influenced what we now refer to as Western civilization. And they couldn't, they really, they couldn't, they couldn't say he was wrong. And I was in the park with I was in the park and I brought up his name to a lady, and she said, "Yeah, he's kind of controversial." And I was like, he can't be that controversial because I think it's the Museum of Natural History in New York just devoted a whole summer or a whole exhibit to him because his his stuff is official. I was getting ready to cuss. I ain't gonna cuss. I'm gonna keep it PG. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Um, so yeah, so the Medu Neter is 10,000 years old, right? So we know writing was already going on in Africa, basically. Then um what happens after that? The pyramids, no, not the pyramid. Oh, so lost my train of thought. Apologize. Yeah, so the pyramids were like 2460 BC, somewhere along in there, the three great pyramids. But this is what we know about pyramids. And this is why you should read this book. We know that there are more pyramids in the Sudan than there are in Egypt because mankind and life started at the bottom, South Africa, right? And it followed the Nile, which the Nile flows south to north. One of the few rivers that does that, I think. And Egypt was the culmination of what started way south. You know what I mean? So I think there's a chapter in the destruction of black civilization called Egypt, Ethiopia's oldest daughter. So what Egypt gets credit for was the end of something, not the beginning. That was the culmination of a culture that started and followed the Nile to the north. So yeah. So the other thing, so the Medu Neter, then you got uh the pyramid text, the coffin text, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and also, you know, towards the end, well, I think it was the 16th century or 16th century BC. So people came into Africa and conquered it for a short time, but the Africans were able to regain control and take back over. And the 25th dynasty, we know there were three pharaohs, Shabaka, Pianki, and Taharka, that were Africans. We know they were Africans, and this is the 25th dynastic period, which Africa. If you listen to Dr. John Heinrich Clark and Dr. Ben, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Dr. Asa Hilliard, peace be upon him. He just made his transition. Um, you know, um, that Africa was in decline, but it had been a civilization for thousands and thousands of years. So we talking about from 10,000 to I think, let me see. Taharka was the last one, 690, 664 BC. So this it was African up until that time. You don't get Europeans. So there were after they thawed out from the ice, there were people from what is known as Europe coming into Egypt, being educated in what they call Thebes. Thebes is a Greek name for a place also referred to as Luxor, and that was a center of great training. Anthony Browder, peace be upon the master teacher Anthony Browder, can give you more, as much information as you want about um, what was going on at the Grand Temple of Luxor and the mystery system and things of that nature. I'm a novice, but I listen to the master teacher. So excuse me. So you don't get so Plato, Socrates, all these people that are known as the fathers of you know European science went into Egypt to be trained, and you know this because they were some of them were killed for foreign teachings. Look it up. Like I said, fact check me. Um, and you don't get Europeans coming in. The first European to come into Africa and quote unquote conquer it was Alexander, Alexander the Greek. They call him Alexander the Great from Macedon. This is around three something BC, right? Let me see. Let me make sure I'm right. Yeah, Alexander the Great, 332 BC. Okay, so that's the first time Europeans really take control. And the other thing that I want to make a point about, the first book out of what is known as Europe was the Iliad, which was written but they don't know. They don't even know who Homer was it male or female, was written between 850 BC and 750 BC. That's the first book. Now, the Meganetta was thousands of years older than that. So how is it that how is it that civilization started with the European and also in the Iliad, I believe, if I remember correctly, Homer says that all of the Greek gods came directly from the Egyptian gods. So Zeus was Osiris, and then he was later Apollo or whoever, But like Dr. John Howard Clark says, more than half of civilization was over. More than half of mankind's history was over before the African knew there was a European. So I haven't even gotten this. This is the early, So this is prehistory and ancient history. I haven't even gotten to 0 or 1. I don't know. I don't. So I guess when you get to 1 BC, I guess you go to 0. Nobody ever knows that. Peace be upon um, Khalid Muhammad. He did a great lecture about how they mess with the calendar, and you got the Gregorian calendar, you got the Justinian calendar, and how they had to take 2 years off before they switched over from BC to AD to make the math work right. So, a lot of the stuff is built around um, numbers like the number 33, the number 7, and stuff like that. But it's not based off starting from 0. It's based off, I guess, getting to 1 and then jumping to 3. I don't know. I don't never hear anybody talk about 1 AD or 0 AD. So I don't know what happened there. I mean, and they probably don't want us to know. So that's just kind of crazy games they play. So yeah, that's just what I want to talk about. I wanted to come all the way up to the end of BC, because I hear people saying, and I guess I'll explain I why I why I did that, because I hear people saying, like, basically to me, let me just be honest. I'm gonna keep it 100. Y'all listen to me. Black people want to be everything but African. They try so hard. They pull all kinds of tricks and want to be, and I ain't got no disrespect to no other ethnic group. What's wrong with that being an African? What's wrong with it? And I'll talk about this more on a later episode. I come from a place where that was kind of ingrained, like the the lighter your skin. I guess we all do, but I mean, really, where I was from, it was a deep colorism thing, and you know, what I don't think we understand is that melanin is because of the sun. It's got a reaction to the sun, and the less melanin you have, the more likely your skin is to burn from the sun. The sun gives everything life. So you know, I think we've been misled to believe that because your skin is dark. Well, I know we have. Um, because your skin is dark, you less of a person. And I'm not with that. You see what's behind me, red, black, and green. Oh, it's on that side. Red, black, and green. Black power. I don't think I'm better than nobody else, but I don't think I'm less than nobody else either. And that's just how I roll. Um, so yeah, I want I wanted to do a better job with this. I wish I could have prepared better, but yeah. So yeah, it's just read those books, The Destruction of Black Civilization and African Origins of Western Civilization, and then I would love to have talk with you about it because I just don't understand why mankind started in Africa. Um, there's records and documents of African people being everywhere. We were everywhere first. Even the people that migrated out of Africa and got trapped during that ice age I referenced, they were African, but they just that's a long time. From we're talking about from 115. So you're talking about almost 100,000 years that they couldn't get back from the ice. They couldn't get past the ice. So they went through a metamorphosis, and that happens. Your body adapts to the environment you're in. So that's why in hotter climates you have darker skinned people, and um, colder climates you have lighter skinned people. It's just nature. But there's no way you can tell me that um, a place where it's sunny and hot, that people that lack melanin were there first. I'll say that to anybody. And like I said, I did. That's not the stuff that I said was not an opinion. I think it's generally accepted facts. So African people was writing way before anything was written in Europe that we know of. There's no. They try to say that. Well, they tried to say that the pyramids were built by. They say they were built by slaves. We'll talk about that on another day, because that gets into an area where some people are a little prickly. I won't talk about that tonight. But you know, they talk about they were built by slaves. They talk about they were built by Europeans. And my question is always the same: if they if it was built by Europeans, why they didn't build anything like that where they originated from? They came to Africa to um, build something of that magnitude that can't be replicated. It hadn't been replicated to this point. That don't make sense to me. And then when they get real frustrated, they say, "Well, aliens did it." I'm like, "Damn! Just because you don't know how to do it, don't mean aliens did it." You know what I'm saying? Um, that's right, Jake. The motherland. That's right. But yeah, and Paul Mooney, and one of my favorite comedians, peace be upon him, on the next plane. He said, we so good we did it and forgot how to do it because we didn't want nobody to know. We didn't want nobody to know. But yeah. So I'm not gonna go an hour tonight. That's what I wanted to talk about. I hope I made some sense. And if you have questions, hit me up. Uh, I'm on Facebook, Gospel of Cleezy. I am on Instagram, DFreezy73, I believe, and then I'm on um, Twitter, DFreezy, and email Cleezy at gmail.com. That's FA, not FOR, Cleezy for Sheezy. That's me. So I hope I'm on vacation. So I'm gonna take an early night on this one, and hopefully I got a couple of people I want to bring on. I'm really passionate about reparations. I think I don't think it's. I think it's old. It's just plain and simple. And if we can send $10 billion to other countries for their efforts, we can. If we can spend $5 trillion for a pandemic, and I understand why it was done, but that wasn't on the budget anywhere. It just where that money come from? Where that $5 trillion come from? So when they say, "Well, who's gonna pay it?" Number one, it's not gonna come out. It's not. They're not gonna draft it out your bank account. They're gonna do the same thing they do with um, foreign aid. They're gonna vote on it. They're gonna pass it. The Senate is gonna, sign the check. That's how it works. And you don't have any say over any of that. We know what the problem is. We know what the problem is. This is the problem. Everybody's got a problem with the government doing something for people unless it's them. When that stimulus check comes with your name on it, you don't say the government full of what or anything like that. You cash it. When they hit your direct deposit, you spend it. You know, you got these stimulus checks and PPP loans and all this stuff, and you didn't ask where that came from when the check came in your name. So if you're selfish, then you know I understand that. Just say that. Just be up. Just be for real. Like I don't. I can see through the bullshit. Excuse my language. You say everything, but what you really feel. I don't operate that way. I'm direct. So if you just say to me, I don't think black people should never have that. I can respect you better. I can respect you better. But if you try to dance around it, well, that ain't gonna. That's not what. What difference does it make to you? What difference does it make? I know what difference it makes. It's because you think I'm gonna move in next door. I'm not. I don't want to move in next door to you. I don't want. If you don't want me to live next door to you, but if I want to, I will. But regardless, um, I'm all over the place tonight. But you know, I hope y'all have a safe Labor Day, and I hope you think about what Nubians are owed. And I will talk to you next week. So peace and love. Cleezy out.